A quick primer, or disclaimer I should say rather, on this guide. I am 4400 MMR, right, almost 4500, but I would not recommend doing this at 4500 MMR. You will get teams that do not, absolutely do not believe in it. Like at the very get-go will call you a troll and give up the game. And overall, I don't necessarily think this is kind of a viable strategy to do really past 4K MMR. But nonetheless, I plan to show you what the strategy is, what it's good at doing, and why I think you should do it if you are sub 1, 2, even 3K. If you're in the 3K MMR bracket, you should probably do this, right? This is just like the Lycan Jungle Guide. It's not as effective, but I think Terrorblade's going to be a hero that gets buffed next patch. He got buffed last patch. He even got removed from Captain's Mode, but I don't believe him, I guess I should say, to be strong enough to the point where he's competitively viable. So unless they nerf something pretty drastic about him next patch, I think you should highly consider doing this in your pub games if you are 3K MMR or below, because if you do it right, it's kind of hard, but if you do it right, it can be good. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm a cheating bastard, I'm going to give myself just enough gold for a courier. And that doesn't actually matter, but maybe it will, and so we'll see. But the real thing that matters is your starting item build. If you've ever seen Terrorblade Jungle pre-patch 6.85, like back in 6.81, is always this. You have enough gold to buy something else, but we don't care about that. We're going to rush ourselves a Wraith Band. This build, in case you feel like you have already been accustomed to this build pre 6.85, continue to watch this video because I will be teaching you some way different things than 6.85 Terrorblade Jungle, I promise you. This is very different from that build. This is pretty different from that build. There's some similarities, but overall, this is pretty. I'm gonna say pretty different. A little bit about me though with Terrorblade. 9 days ago, I played him. I have 130 games played. I used to have a 70% win rate with him. I gained 600 MMR in 3 or 4 days with this style. Playing it back an entire year ago. If you remember 2014 December, this hero was broken as balls. I used to play this non-stop and I got 130 games played with him, so if you think my credulity is lacking in that regard, I highly recommend that you give me a chance. I will try not to disappoint. So first thing you always do, nowadays you start Metamorphosis. You can launch the rune for your allies and shit, it doesn't really matter. That's one of the reasons why we start Metamorphosis actually, is so that we can not have to worry about spawning an illusion in the fountain, and getting potentially crapped over because our team is fighting over the rune and we're not there. With Metamorphosis level 1, it may gimp your jungle if you have to use it at the rune, and hopefully you don't, but you can at least provide something to your team if they need you. And so one thing I'm going to do, I kind of got lucky, I guess. I don't know, Radiant isn't necessarily the best for the strategy. I didn't get lucky in the camp spawns, but Radiant can do something like this. And this is what I encourage you to do as Terrorblade Jungle, okay? Don't try to man-fight these creeps at level 1. And if you get lucky, you'll get cool, you'll get ballin' camps like this. We're going to try to stack this camp, but we really don't want to lose too much DPS in stacking it. So we won't really concern ourselves too much with stacking. There's nothing, okay, we might stack this. No, we're not going to stack this. This is not going to get stacked. We do not care, though. We're not going to lose sleep over it. The most important thing is to keep our DPS here, make the most out of our Metamorphosis that we possibly can. Oops. I say as I lose a little bit of DPS. Get that last little shot there. Good. So we have full health. That's what we're aiming for. With level 1 Metamorphosis, you should be able to take pretty much any medium camp in the freaking world. And then this is... I'm going to leave that actually in there. This is where you kind of gotta... I'm not going to take that bounty, remember, because this is an experiment. But this is where you kind of gotta, bullshit your team. You gotta steal, 2 or 3 creeps if you get any camp besides the satyrs and the wolves. And the wolves also kind of beat you up. Anyways, you do choke point jungle as best as you possibly can. This isn't really helping me out, actually. But yeah. You do stuff like this. We'll just kill the big golems first. The shard golems do 9 damage. They're not a big source of your damage, or of the damage output in the camp. Now we're gonna go back over here and check this out. Got one Wraithband bot. We are buying 2 Wraithbands with this build. You're going to buy the 2 Wraithbands first. Upgrading straight to base is kind of pointless. Alright, this part's kind of hard. Because wolves can get some pretty crazy crits. We're just going to tank with our hero. We're going to suicide soon anyways. You still do suicide, yes, with Terrorblade jungle. Man, I should have gotten that last auto in. Okay. We're going to get one more value metamorphosis just because suiciding with metamorphosis up is pretty embarrassing. It just feels bad. But ideally we'd be using this, and you can use your you can cast illusions now before metamorphosis is up, because you can just do this. Alright, we're actually gonna still increase our metamorphosis just because we expect to have it up. Oh my god, this camp, fuck. This kinda sucks. I think another camp may have spawned here, I don't know. Rip. Alright. I want to get some value out of this last few seconds before we go suicide. I don't know, I know I'm definitely buying a TP, that much is for sure. Okay, alright, well, there's no point in doing damage to that camp because I know what's going to happen. We're just going to do some damage to this camp. So this camp's going to heal up. You always want to get some value out of your suicide. Like, I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you always want to, like, try to weaken a camp so that you can, such that when you respawn, you can kind of just go take that camp and it'll be weakened. I did that for this camp. I didn't want to die to this camp, though. I felt like that was kind of a waste to just straight up, like, waste all my metamorphosis like that. I ended up pretty much doing the exact same thing anyways, so I guess it didn't really matter. Anyways, TP back in, summon your illusion, so you get free mana, because you don't have a base E, you don't have a Ring of Aquila, so you're going to need the free mana. Nah, no, our illusions are super tanky. Do not want this thing to spawn skeletons, though. I'm going to kind of let it tank out the rest of its life. Because I don't want to take too much damage. My biggest limitation right now is really just health, not mana too much. And now, this is where the build starts to deviate. No, we're not going to take this camp yet. The build starts to deviate now when we are trying to make our next decision on our item. We got 2 Wraithbands. Usually, the build, if you've seen it up until this point from via various different players like Matrice, they used to go 3 Wraithbands pretty much every single game. We're going to just go 2 Wraithbands and we're going to get ourselves a Ring of Aquila. I've found that the survivability dip is kind of frustrating, but a Ring of Aquila really lets you tide over your mana. The 3 Wraithbands was never really needed for mana. It was gotten for health stats, but... One sec. I probably didn't need to get so fucking close. I'm not casting my illusion again, by the way, because that thing always beams when you get... There's its little shockwave thing. When you get 3 things. What was I gonna say? I don't want to get the 3rd Wraithband because I'm planning on farming a little bit more with my Terrorblade, right? Terrorblade, what you used to do is you get 3 Wraithbands, you get Boots of Travel, and you just go push a lane, and push you would. And nowadays, you could probably still do a style very similar to that, right? Like, you can probably still flourish doing something like that. And this camp is about to stack, but we don't actually care. The thing that limits you is Terrorblade in the jungle. Flip dirt, okay. We don't want this thing to stomp. Yeah, okay, just like that. But the thing that limits you the most in Terrorblade, or as Terrorblade in the jungle, is not stacked camps, but usually. It's just sustaining your mana, getting the most out of your illusions, so you can sustain your health. And now what I usually do to supplement all the nerfs that this style has gotten is I actually watch over runes. I watch over runes for my allies. But as you've seen so far, this is kind of how you jungle Terrorblade, right? You let your illusions tank until they really can't tank too much more, so you can switch out for your hero. It's kind of important to keep your illusions alive, though, still, because they are a decent part of your damage. You know, I'm just pulling numbers out here. At this current moment in time, they're doing 50% of my damage, and I can have 2 of them out at any one point. That's pretty much another hero's worth of DPS, right? So keeping them alive is important. But you also want them to tank, because if you can't let them stay alive, or if you can't let them tank the damage that they need to tank, then your main hero is going to be so weak from fighting all these camps that their next illusions spawned are going to be really weak. See, this one's half health because I was pretty much half health. Terrorblade's weird. He's an abnormal hero. He starts the game with literally two health regen per second. So he's kind of cool in that respect. You get a lot more health regen than you do on pretty much any other hero in the game, unless like you're playing Ogre Magi or Nyx Assassin or some other melee carries. I remember they changed the health regen a while back, so the melee carries could have a chance in lane. And now they're like dominating the game. So what an ironic turn of events, right? Where's the Drow Ranger love, Kappa? But anyways, this is it though. Like, you just let your health regen take its full effect when you're. I want to try to stack this camp if possible. I'm probably not going to do it. Yeah, since I need an extra auto on these wolves. No, I'm actually going to. When you're in your range form, you just kind of let your regen really do the work here, because you can kite everything and you don't need to worry about health as much. You also let your ranged form do like a crap ton of like. Your jungling is usually pretty inefficient when you're playing Terrorblade jungle, except for when you use your ranged form, because your ranged form really catches you back up in terms of your jungling speed. I would argue that Terrorblade jungle is quicker than Enigma when you use your Metamorphosis, because Metamorphosis is such a good ability that it really is the case. And so now we kind of want to take this camp. Yeah, I figured that was going to happen. Okay, we'd prefer not to, actually. Seeing how quickly that camp murdered my illusions, and the fact that we still want to stay out here. And this camp sucks, too. Alright, we're going to hold up. We're going to lean back for a second. This is the part where things get a little awkward, is because I'm kind of out of mana, but I can still jungle, because I'm not out of health. This is the part where usually you'd get a lucky rune or something. At your MMR, if you're doing this at 3k, you're going to get a rune at this point. There's an illusion rune down there, I'm not going to go take that. I'm not going to get any runes this game, because I can't guarantee in my games that I'm going to get one. But in your guys' games, you should be not only going for runes, but you should be getting runes, guaranteed. Right? Even I get some runes sometimes. Like, even their supports aren't fucking straight up camping the rune from minute 1, it seems, in my games. So I'm going to take the easy camp here. It's 9 minutes in, so there's really nothing too terrible about you taking this camp at this point in time. But that's another good point. It's 9 minutes in. I've got 57 creeps. Most of these are jungle creeps. I think it's a little bit better to have a lot of jungle creeps than it is to have a lot of lane creeps, because generally speaking, I think the jungle creeps even out to be about 57 or maybe 60 gold, depending on what camps you're taking. And this is pretty, I mean, I'm getting pretty low in the jungle, but, like, you know, doesn't really matter. I mean, who's going to come kill you at your MMR, right? I'm getting actually absurdly low. Don't get this low. Don't get this low, but, you know, proof of concept. Proof of concept. So yeah, you're probably not gonna get as low as I did, but I mean, you can, like, it's who's gonna come fuck with you, like I said, as long as this isn't the range camp. Yeah, I kind of got a little unlucky. Elder Trolls are usually a godsend. God damn it. For any other jungler, Elder Trolls as a large camp are usually a godsend, but for Terrorblade, you're kind of banking on the idea that you can just range DPS things down with your Metamorphosis, which gives you exactly 550 range. And they have, like, I don't know, 400 range, but eventually they'll come up to you and smack you. And it's just really unfortunate. So you'll notice I'm kind of steadily getting enough mana to cast an illusion once every year. So, and my health regen is kind of holding me over. Yeah, smack that guy once. I'm going to get value out of my Metamorphosis here, and then I'm going to pause the game. Okay. Pause the game. It's 11 minutes in, I've got 67 creeps. I've almost got a Yasha, right? This is pretty typical farm. After Yasha, I usually get brown boots, and then I work straight into bots, right? When you get bots, your game changes. You're still wanting to farm the jungle as much as possible, but you are also open to the idea of going to a lane with your bots, of course. Botsing into a lane, pushing it a bunch, maybe even taking a tower. I should unpause. Maybe even taking a tower up here, and like, I don't know, straight up trying to catapult the game into your favor, into just a constant, like, kind of like a PL farming game, right? What does PL usually do? He usually gets bots, and he keeps pushing side lanes, and he tries to push as many towers as possible. Another hero that does that, kind of Ember Spirit. I don't know, I'm thinking of heroes that actually push towers, though. And PL and Ember don't really push towers as well as you do, because you have Metamorphosis and you have illusions. After I get my Yasha and my Boots of Travel, I usually work straight into a Manta style. This is kind of where the build changes. Is you only get 2 Wraith Bands, so you upgrade one of them into a Ring of Aquila, which is weird, and then also I always get Manta style. I don't even debate with that anymore. Okay, Sanjin Yash is a great item, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't give you opportunities to abuse your Metamorphosis more, okay? Getting stuff like Manta Style, and there's really no illusion. I was going to say Radiance, but I was going to be like, no, don't get Radiance. Getting stuff like Manta Style allows you to abuse your Metamorphosis and conjure images as much as possible, right? Don't get Radiance on this hero, he's way too squishy. Your ability to farm camps may increase, seemingly, with Radiance, but Manta Style is just an all-out better item than Radiance for farming, because you get 2 illusions that you can send down lanes, and even if they're in their melee form, you should be getting all those last hits. Your illusions hit really hard with this hero, even if you do not have Radiance, I promise. Like Radiance Burn is nice, but getting raw stats and then buffing your hero that way is nice. So anyways, after Manta Style, I usually go straight into Scotty. I really like Scotty on this hero. Sometimes I even get 2 Scotties if they have way too many burst nuking heroes, but that's probably a waste. Honestly, you should probably go for something that's a little bit more... I usually get that if I'm kind of lazy, because Scotty's... It's an awkward item to build because it has that Orb of Venom component in there that you're couriers to get from the normal shop, but everything else is built from the side shop, and it's all nice and tanky stat boosting items too that you want to get. But anyways, that's pretty much the style. I plan on uploading maybe a game or 2, hopefully around my MMR of me playing the style and winning. If I'm not winning, I at least want to show you guys a game like where even if I don't win the game, I get a lot of contribution, right? And I'm not just an AFK farming jungler for the first, I don't know, 20 minutes of the game. Because that's a lot of people that may do this style in their games and say that it's bad. That's what they're going to do. They're just going to AFK farm the jungle. They're going to use Metamorphosis 6 times before they ever actually step out of the jungle. And then wonder why their team is going like 0-20. You can AFK farm the jungle with this hero and get an insane amount of gold per minute. Do not get me wrong. Usually I end my games with anywhere between 600 and 700 because he just farms camps and jungle. He just farms creeps like they're made of butter, right? And you're like the hot knife, right? It's insane. Like you can farm creeps really, really well with this hero, but that's not necessarily what you can. I mean, you can do that if you're trying to play like Sims or something, like you're trying to amass a huge gold bounty or whatever the crap, you know, and just impress your friends with an insane GPM. But you shouldn't do that if you're trying to win Dota 2 games, because that's not what wins Dota 2 games. What wins Dota 2 games is having an impact on the game, having a contribution towards your team. I'm going to get 1 stat point here, but usually I probably try to get Reflection now. It's a really good ability. It got buffed significantly. And, yeah. Usually you do take points into your reflection. In fact, take points into your reflection. If I level up just to 16... Oh shit, that gives me 16 levels. Always level up your reflection. Get your reflection. It's a really good ability now. And so yeah, that's basically the style. Hope you guys learned something. Like I said, it's kind of similar, but it's kind of different to what people used to do before. And in general, I hope to... even if anybody that's coming to this video has already seen the old Terrorblade style jungle again, I hope that you don't completely give up on it, right? It kind of died out a little bit, but I still do it every once in a while in pub games at the very least, and I try my absolute best to make it work, and it can work sometimes. I predict it'll get buffed next patch too, so showing it off now may get people primed and ready for next patch. I don't think it specifically will get buffed, but I think the strong dominance of mid-game heroes winning the mid-game and then just snowballing into the game, like into the victories, is going to diminish. I think that's going to diminish significantly. I think Ice Frog is going to try to change it so that like heroes like Medusa and Terrorblade can come back into style just a little bit. At least give them a fighting chance against the, you know, Gyrocopter, Ember Spirit heroes of today. Where if you don't farm really quickly, you're not going to be in the metagame, you know. And if you don't have a mid-game contribution through your abilities, you're not gonna be in the game, right? Terrorblade, they're trying to turn him into a mid-game fighting hero with the reflection changes, but overall, I think they're just gonna scrap the idea of like having every game try to last maybe 30 minutes at most, you know, where it's like, damn dude, whoever won that 16-minute team fight won the game because they were just able to get too many towers out of it and then control Roshan like nobody's business. But yeah, anyways. Let me know if you found this helpful to you, because I am very, very curious as to whether or not this is the kind of shit that people would like to see. I completely understand if nobody ever plays Terrorblade and doesn't care too much about Terrorblade jungle, but I love this style. And again, I think that similar to the Lycan jungle thing, if you do this at 2K MMR, I actually think you can win a lot of games. Because I think Terrorblade's a little bit better than Lycan in the respect of carrying your team. Because Terrorblade, a fed Terrorblade that's played correctly, can carry harder than a fed Lycan. And not push faster, but win team fights much better. Because you actually have a crowd control. You actually have an amazing team fighting ability that goes through Magic Immunity, which literally swaps your health with another person, called Sunder. Which basically means that you beat every carry that doesn't have a way of, like, going really, like, going invisible at low health, like Slark, or having a million illusions like PL, because you have no form of AoE. You beat most carries in the game because of Sunder. And yeah. So that's the guide. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys later.